Hey, friends and family, thank you for joining me today. I know it's an unusual season. Wow, COVID-19, and last week, the events surrounding the life and the death of George Floyd. Wow, sparks and difficult moment. And we're all looking at it because we're all at home, all on our social media devices. And I think this is a key moment where I need to speak to you. And the you that I'm talking about is you, the people, friends and family of C3 Church in Southwest Washington and this region. And so the things I'm about to say are directed at you. While other people might tune in and might glean some things, if I was in a different place, I would probably deliver the same message, but in a different way. So understand, I'm speaking to you. And in speaking to you, I want to help you where you are. You're not in Minneapolis, and you're not in Florida, and you're in Southwest Washington. So I want to speak to you, who you are, where you are, in what you experience from a day-to-day basis. And I'm talking to people in our church especially who are incredible, some of the most generous, fun, loving people that you will absolutely ever meet. And embracing, I'd say it that way. No matter who walks through the doors of our church, man, they are welcomed. You could be a small child, you could be elderly, you could be trendy, you could not know necessarily how to dress in today's era. Our church embraces the incredibly diverse. And I would like to say that our church is also ethnically diverse. But the reality is our church is only as ethnically diverse as our region, which is not exactly ethnically diverse. Now, add to that, the people I'm speaking to is we don't have the sparks in our region at a level where maybe someone else is experiencing them. In fact, everything that we are experiencing in this particular season, we can't see it with our eyes. We have to look through someone else's camera lens, where they're pointing it, how they've edited it, and hearing the story that they want to tell us. It's kind of like when I put a picture out on Instagram, truth be told, I've taken 10, but I choose the one that tells the story that I want you to hear. And when I can't see it with my own eyes, I can't hear it with my own ears, I have to try to look through someone else's lens and hear the real story. I need to see the other 9 pictures to know what's really going on. So with that, I want you to know that over the next couple of weeks, my goal is, especially in today's message, my goal is threefold. Number one and number 2, actually, you're already doing them. This is easy. You got this one. Number 1, when somebody stands in front of you and they are struggling, they are hurting, maybe they're pleading for help, even if they're pleading for help in a way that doesn't make sense. In fact, sometimes people plead for help by punching the person they need to help them in the face. In that pain, sometimes people don't ask for help correctly. But you'd see beyond that. I'm asking step 1 that when somebody needs help, that you will hear them and that you will see them. And I got to tell you, you are remarkable and you are so good at that. And Rowena and I, we love you for that. Second thing that means so much that you're already doing is that, just hear and see, but I watch you jump up, run over, and protect and restore. I observe that every day of my life as your pastor, and I just want to say thank you. It's likely to be a little emotional today. I'm good, but this is dear to my heart, this topic. The third thing that I want you to accomplish, I'm hoping that we can do, there's likely most of you have already done this, but it's not a 180-degree shift. It's a small one. It's a click. It's a click like on the dial on the top of a rifle scope. But that one clip over a long distance in time is going to make a world of difference. That one click is going to help you to hit the target. And that one click is going to be a challenge for me because I need to say 3 words. And I need you to hear them for the very first time. And I need you to hear at the core of these words what is meant by the one who is saying them. Now, these are words that you've already heard. These are words that you've already formed an opinion on. These are words that you may love, you may not like. You may have heard used correctly or incorrectly or abused. All of that. But today, especially for the rest of this message, the one click is going to require you to hear these words for the first time ever. It's going to require that you forget about your politics, forget about your previous racial experiences. It's going to require you to forget the radical voices on the fringes of this discussion who get all the airtime. It's going to require you to forget for a moment about the riots, the black rioters. Got to forget them because they don't speak on behalf of 37 million African Americans. And you've got to forget the white rioters because they are there and they don't speak for the 197 million white Americans. And I hate to say this, it sounds bad. I actually need you to forget the name George Floyd. And I need you to forget who the media has told you he is. I hate to say this as well, but I also hate to say I need you to forget that he died under the knee of an officer in uniform. I need you to forget what you think that these 3 words mean. I need you in this moment to click. It's a small click, but to make this click that will change so many things in this area where we live, where you and I live life. That small click, I need you to forget what you not only think these 3 words mean, I need you to forget how they make you feel. I need you to forget possibly why you dislike these 3 words. Here's the 3 words. Black lives matter. Having forgot all of that other stuff, that what you will actually hear is someone who, in this case, is black, who is asking you a question, not making a declaration, asking you a question. Because when they say Black Lives Matter, not the crowd, not the fringe, but when this person is saying to you, Black Lives Matter, it is actually a plea for mercy. It's a plea for mercy. When you hear the phrase, Black Lives Matter, I want you to hear the way Jesus heard a similar expression as we look in the book of Matthew chapter 20, verses 29 through 34. And as they went out of Jericho, a great crowd followed him. And behold, there were 2 blind men sitting by the roadside. And when they heard that Jesus was passing by, they cried, Lord, 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 have mercy on us, Son of David. Lord, have mercy on us. Have mercy. And the crowd rebuked them, telling them, be silent. So they cried out all the more, Lord, have mercy on us, Son of David, have mercy, have mercy, have mercy. Stopping, Jesus called them and said, what do you want me to do for you? They said to him, Lord, let our eyes be open. And Jesus, in pity, touched their eyes, and immediately they recovered their sight and followed him. What a remarkable picture of mercy. I have no idea what it would be like to be blind, but I can guarantee you it would be difficult. And what I love about this portion of Scripture is even though those men were in a huge crowd with all sorts of things going on, as they were pushing out their plea for mercy and experiencing people trying to suppress that cry for whatever reason, that Jesus, man, the ultimate example of mercy, he heard them. He heard what their situation is. He heard them, he saw them, and he went over, he protected them, he restored them, and gave them back their sight. He had pity on them. That word pity is, in our language, that seems puny. It's like, they have pity. I don't need your pity. No. In the Bible, pity is actually a description of what happens when someone sees something that moves them so deeply in the core that they cannot not act. So Jesus had pity, and he heard the cry of mercy. He heard, he saw, he protected, and he restored. The title of my message today is, Can You Hear Me? Can you hear me? So I want to tell you the story of two men I know, phenomenal examples of mercy. Actually, some of my best friends spent so much time with these guys, and they couldn't be any different from each other as my right hand from left hand, but they are in our church, and they are very much friends, and they both carry characteristics of mercy. First, Kieran Guillen, great friend, done so much, born outside of the country, lives here in the region, pilot, cyclist, all sorts of things. We had gone on a mission trip years ago, the first mission trip our church ever did. Difficult, tough build, crazy, sweaty hot, up at sun up, and try to go to bed at nighttime, but there was these crazy buses with speakers blaring every 5 minutes down the street, and nobody got any sleep. So when we returned, I was exhausted and could not wait to go home. And the drive home seemed like it would take forever, partially because Kieran is a safe driver, and I was riding with him and his wife. It was actually snowing. And I just, every inch of the car as it went, I just wanted to go home. And in the process of heading north on the 205, someone heading south swerved, and in the process came into the median and began to flip in our direction. And Kieran's immediate response was to pull over to the side and immediately get himself set and began to jump out of the car. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And his expression was, "That guy needs help." And as he's doing that, I'm thinking, dude, you're a pilot. You're not a paramedic. And I'm watching him race across, and I'm realizing that this now is going to mean more time before I get home. And my mind is racing. And then I'm looking in the rearview mirror, because where there's one accident, many times there's a chain reaction of accidents, especially in the snow, and we're the target because we're over on the side. And how could Kieran put us in that situation? And his wife's in the car, and my mind is screaming out, "Silence!" But he heard the cry for mercy and ignored all of that, got his hands in that car, stayed there for about 15 minutes, and as the paramedics arrived, he returned, and we went on to our way. That's one story that exemplifies my friend Kieran. And man, I love that about him. It's one of the reasons why I love him. My buddy Tim Volz, he was born here. In fact, he was born in Portland, raised in a difficult time and space where it was, in his neighborhood, it's as many black as white, and there's tension, so much so that there's riots in the school. It gets shut down. He's been in more fights than he can count, and sometimes he's had to fight because someone didn't like the color of his skin, and maybe, I don't know this, but maybe he got in fights for other reasons, but I know that brought him to the place where when he was 22 years old, him and Terry were in their new house, small, humble. Tim had finally gone out as every man's dream to buy your first lawnmower. Cuts his grass, It's the first nice new thing he really has ever had. He's so excited. And in the process of finishing up, a gentleman steps into his yard and says, "Sir, can I borrow your lawnmower?" And this individual was African American. Now, Tim's first response, not because of his color, but because of the request, is, "What do you need my lawnmower for?" Because he didn't know the man, wasn't from the neighborhood. And the man said, "Sir, the people down the street told me they would pay me if I cut their grass. If I had a lawnmower and I don't, and you have one, will you loan me your lawnmower?" And the first response, because of the request, Tim was like, "I'm not going to give you my lawnmower." I think that's understandable. But the man leaned in and said, "Sir, I just got out of prison, and I can't find a job. And the people down the street told me if I could find a lawnmower, I could cut their grass. They'll pay me. If you don't loan me your lawnmower, I'm going to have to go and do the things that put me in jail in the first place." And Tim, man, is a man of mercy, lawnmower or not. "Here you go, buddy." Man said, I'll give you my name, I'll give you my number. And Tim was like, "If I can't trust you with my lawnmower, I can't trust you to give me the right information, go ahead." Man said, "I'll be back." And Tim watched him go down the street and went into the house, and an hour passed. A second hour passed. A third hour passed. I give a guy my lawnmower who's going to steal it, and the emotions and maybe some memories kick in. After 4 hours, Tim finally hears the sound of the clanking front wheels on his mower. The gentleman returning what he had borrowed. And he said to Tim, "Sir, I'm really sorry that it took me so long. But I wanted to do a good job, because if I did a good job, it might mean another job. And if I get another job, can I borrow your mower?" Tim said, "Absolutely." Man, I love Tim Volz. I love his heart. I love these two guys. They're men of mercy. And they make my life rich. You know, George Floyd recently asked for mercy. You know, it's unusual that you can ask for mercy. There's 3 phrases that you could use in this setting of what I'm talking about to ask for mercy. You could say, "Mercy." You could also say, in George Floyd's case, "I can't breathe. I can't breathe." It's not a statement. It's a request to whoever can hear it. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you see what I'm going through? Will you help me? And in George Floyd's case, no one heard him. Oh, I know you'd argue that. We have it on video. We can hear it. But I'm talking about hearing that brings a response. I'm talking about the hearing that's not just knowledge, but hearing like Jesus had, that evoked that thing, pity, not our pity, but the pity that stirs something inside of you, and I hear it. Where is he? I see it, and it burns within you. I've got to help that person. In his case, no one did. To better help you understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to create a brand new circle and put you in it with 9 other people. And I am going to call your circle America. And in this new imaginary circle, these 9 other people like you, they're varied in their background, their upbringing, their race, their thoughts and politics and all of that kind of thing. And in this circle, in all of that diversity, you're close enough to be able to see your neighbor, that you could get to know him, and far enough away that if you don't like him, you can kind of ignore him. And everyone in the circle is close enough to interact on some level, although the one on the other side of the circle is actually far enough away that you might not quite see what's actually going on over there. One thing that absolutely everyone has in common in your circle that I've called America is that they are struggling to breathe. It's the one thing that unifies them, the one thing that everybody, it's the same. Everyone is struggling to breathe in a general sense. What do I mean? Well, life in the circle has its challenges. I got to get up, I got to find a job, I've got to feed my family, I'm not sure if I can pay the bills, my body's aching, my boss is angry, my dog ran away. There's just the pressure of life in the circle has a way of squeezing down and restricting the flow of air for everyone. Now, hear me, everyone's experiencing it in a different way, but everyone is experiencing it. And everyone in the circle has also experienced what I call a moment of strangulation, where it's not just the normal struggle to breathe, but where something, a situation, a circumstances, grabs the neck and for a few moments chokes it in a way that you see stars and you're panicking. And everyone in the circle has a different experience, but has experienced at least one moment of strangulation. Some have had more, some have had less. Some moments have been short and brief, but they were real, but they were brief, but then others have been longer and all the way up to 30 seconds, which would be a long time. That's difficult. And all these moments of strangulation look like divorce, the death of a newborn. Somebody stealing your heart by what they said. Disease, sickness, a fire that burned down your house. Everyone in the circle has a story of a moment of strangulation. Different, some longer than others, some having more than others, but everyone experiencing that. In your circle right now that I've placed you in, the one called America, I want you to see that in this moment, there's actually someone in the group who's not just struggling like everybody is to breathe and not just having one of those moments of strangulation, but having a moment that's actually different. Having a moment where, as the clock ticks, people are looking around and doing their thing and struggling to breathe themselves, the second hand goes past 30 seconds. It goes past a minute. It goes past 2 minutes. It goes past 3 minutes. And the person in their panic, falling to the ground, flails around, struggles, knocking some things over, even knocking some things over in their neighbor's yard, all trying to push out the words, "I can't breathe! I can't breathe! Can anyone see me? Can you see me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? I can't breathe! Mercy! Mercy!" And then, because the individual on the ground 5 minutes in is black, he utters the phrase, "Black Lives Matter!" But it's not a declaration. It's a question. Can anybody see me? Can anybody hear me? I'm black. Can you see me? Does my black life matter in this moment? Let's hit pause and let's jump out of your circle for a moment into a circle called Minneapolis. 10 people in the circle. There's one having a literal strangulation moment. And trying to get people's attention, flailing on the ground, gasping for air, not 30 seconds, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. You hear not the declaration, not a statement. You hear a man try to force out the words, I can breathe. And sadly, no one did. I know you're thinking to yourself, well, but we heard him. Well, what I mean by the phrase, can you hear me, is, can you hear me the way Jesus heard the blind man? Can you hear the words I'm using and see in the actions of what I'm doing? Can you hear my cry for mercy? Will you take pity on? Because it's, I can't breathe is actually a question of will you come and help? So the answer is no. No one heard him. I think there's a lot of reasons why. I know I'd love to hear them, actually hear them, but because this is not the first circle where someone died, I think we can look at some of the real reasons why people don't answer that are real. Let me read a few that I think that are probably legitimate. I can't hear you because you're so far away. I didn't hear you. I can't hear you because, honestly, out of all 10 in this circle, breathing is, I'm challenged, but it's fairly easy. And since I really don't know what your challenge is, I assume that the challenge that I have is the challenge you're experiencing. And to be quite honest with you, I think you're blowing it out of proportion. I can't hear you because, honestly, you were screaming so loud the last 4 minutes, I turned your dial down. I can't hear you because I turned you off. It sounded like you were blaming me for not being able to breathe. I couldn't hear you because there's a guy over there, while you're choking, lighting everybody's yards on fire. And I couldn't hear you because the guy who's lighting everybody's yards on fire, he's the only other person in this circle who's the same color as you. And I'm guessing you're probably going to light my yard on fire too. I couldn't hear you because while the guy over there lighting our yards on fire, who, by the way, is the same color as you, he kept saying something, and it really sounded a lot like what you were trying to say. And I'm telling you, it didn't sound like a plea for help. It sounded like a threat. I couldn't hear you because while that guy was lighting our yards on fire, that guy captured it on video, and now I can go call my insurance agent, I can go call my lawyer, and I get to go call my real estate agent so that I don't have to live near you anymore. I couldn't hear you because, honestly, I feel helpless, and I don't even know what to begin to do. Your situation is so overwhelming. I couldn't hear you because I was scared to death that the thing that was choking you would choke me too. I couldn't hear you because the guy over there who was choking you, he's the one that we told was in charge of running the circle. I couldn't hear you because my neighbors, they don't like you. And if I help you, they're going to be angry at me. And my neighbors, that one's my boss, and that one's my dad. I didn't hear you. I couldn't hear you because it's not my problem and I don't want to get involved. I can't hear you because I don't care. I can't hear you because you are reaping what you sowed. I can't hear you because this circle would be better without you. The reasons I can't hear, the reasons why I didn't respond to your plea for mercy is because your life doesn't matter as much as my reason. So now let's jump back into your circle. But I'm going to jump in with you. And I'm inviting my friends, Kieran and Tim. Everybody's still gasping for air. People have experienced different strangulation moments, and he's still down on the ground, having a strangulation moment that is like none other. Not 30 seconds, beyond a minute, beyond 2 minutes, beyond 3 minutes. And he's pleading. He's saying, mercy, I can't breathe. Black lives matter. In our circle, because now it's my circle, can anybody hear? Here's the good thing that I know. Because on either side of me are men of mercy. I know what it is to hear the plea of a car flipping, and I've seen my friend hear, see, rush over to protect and to restore. I've seen my other friend hear the plea for mercy, and he's offered up the thing requested. I know that the man who's choking will be heard because I've seen choking people heard before. Because in the lives of my two friends, whoever it is that is choking, their lives matter. And that brings me great comfort from my circle. Great comfort. It's tears, but it's joy. Because I know this, that if it was me that was choking, my plea for help will be heard because I know Steve's life matters. And because in our circle, their life matters, that means Steve's life will matters, then that also means that all lives matter. But until his life matters, I'm not sure if Steve's life matters. And that means no lives matter. This is key. This is what I'm after. All the lives in the circle do not matter until his life matters. Because if his life doesn't matter, no lives matter. All lives will never matter until black lives matter. And let me push a little bit out of the discussion. All lives will never matter until unborn lives matter. Can you hear their plea? Because if unborn lives don't matter, handicapped lives might not matter. And old people's lives don't matter. If black lives don't matter, no lives matter. I realize this is a huge issue. And it's my prayer that maybe in a moment, in a world of chaos right now, if God has granted me my request, you're hearing those three words for the first time, and you're hearing what they mean. Not by the fringes, not by the machine. You're hearing it out of the mouth of the one who's choking. I want you to know your life matters. Your life matters. I know you felt like it doesn't. Because all of us in this circle have all been choking at some point and felt like it didn't. But I know your life matters because when you were pleading for mercy, when you're gasping for air, and whatever color you are, you expressed, white lives matter. All of heaven took notice. And the God who created this universe that's experiencing this toxic poison at the hands of the one who has come to steal, kill, and destroy, all of heaven heard your choking sound. And our God, who loves you so much, sent his son, who immigrated to our disgusting little circle, so that when he could get within reach of your gasps, he raced across the circle, and in prying the hands off your neck, lost his life. Jesus died for you. I don't know if anyone else will ever hear your plea, but I'm going to tell you, heaven heard you and did something about it. You might not even realize that. And so in just a moment, I'm going to go ahead and pray for you, because, man, when Jesus comes in and pries those hands off of your throat, something amazing is going to happen. There will be air that will come into you. Will be able to, for the first time in your life, breathe. I'm not saying it won't be challenged, and I'm not saying there won't be moments where that hand will grab onto you, where bad things won't happen. But I'm telling you, in that moment, when you cry out to the heavens, he will continue to respond. And because of the circle that you joined, there'll be all kinds of people running, prying those hands off. So let me pray for you. If you have yet to start a relationship with heaven's answer to your choking, simply say, yes, Lord, I say yes. And that's all this prayer has to be. Say it with me. I say yes. I say yes. Oh, man. To be able to breathe is amazing. Is amazing. Let me pray for the rest of you who, it's been an emotional click. I told you it's not much of an adjustment. Just need for you to hear those three words new for the first time and hear what they're actually saying. They're not a statement, it's a question. Can you hear me? Do you see me? Will you come protect me? Will you come restore me? I know it's been a little tough to get to that moment, but you're there. I want to pray for you. I'm confident that you've heard me. Father, I pray for every person listening, that you will touch them and allow them from this moment forward, when they hear those words, Black Lives Matter, because that is the circle that we're in. And that is actually the person who is choking. Oh, maybe there's no hand around their throat at this second. But those 7 or 8 minutes, they happened in the whole scheme of things just a few minutes ago. Just a few minutes ago. And they're still gasping for air. So, Father, when they express Black Lives Matter, or they say, I can't breathe, they're saying mercy. And I pray for these amazing people that you'll use them as they spring into action. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. Thank you. We love you. We see you. And man, it's an honor to do that together and be a part of this world becoming a better place, because God has helped us to hear the cry of other people.